Say that you were going to do a drawing for that special someone in your life, a couple flowers and a heart. And you would draw a flower, a heart, and then another flower. And they were all separate. It looks okay, but now imagine that you took the same 3 subjects and you overlapped them. Instead of having all the subjects separate, you could have the stem of the flower cross behind the heart. You could do the same thing with the stem of the other flower, and you'd end up with a much more interesting, dramatic, 3D looking drawing. So, overlaps are good. It doesn't look good to have everything separate. Let's look at another example. We could have some seaweed and a couple fishes. There's a baby shark. And this drawing has a really elementary look because all of the subjects are separate. None of them are touching. They all have their own little spot on the page. So let's do another one of that, another version of that same idea where the subjects overlap. The fish overlaps with the seaweed. The baby shark is having a little bit of trouble, but there we go. Nice little baby shark. Give him a little fin. The baby shark's up there. And then the tentacles of the octopus go and overlap with a lot of stuff. Overlap with the seaweed, overlap with the baby shark. Now we have a much more interesting drawing, but we also have some problems on our hands because it's getting confusing. We need to fix this. The confusion comes from the overlapping areas where we can't tell what's in front, like the seaweed and the fish. I call these confusing overlapping areas X-ray vision because it looks like we're seeing through things that we shouldn't be able to see through. There are several ways to fix this. The first is to use your eraser and erase the lines that you shouldn't see. If the fish is behind the seaweed, we shouldn't be able to see the sides of it. If the octopus's tentacle is in front of the seaweed, we shouldn't be able to see the seaweed through the tentacle. Usually you have to go back and do some redrawing after you erase. Another way to avoid X-ray vision is to draw the foreground subject first, in this case the seaweed, and then pick your pencil up as you draw the second subject so that the X-ray vision is never there in the first place. And your third option, you can always shade over. Instead of erasing to get rid of the X-ray vision, if you want to bring the subject in front, you can just shade over it and you'll never know that those X-ray vision lines were there. Shading over won't work on every subject, but if it's a subject that makes sense to shade, it could be a good option. And there you have it. A nice little underwater scene with lots of good overlaps. Remember that overlaps look good, so don't shy away from them. But when you have overlaps, you have to figure out a way to fix those X-ray vision areas. Let's try it on a few simple subjects first. Let's draw a burger, nice bun, some lettuce, some cheese, meat patty, sesame seeds. And then draw a soda, but make sure that the soda is behind the burger, off to the side of it and behind it, so that we can't see one bit of its side. Make sure there's no X-ray vision. Fix any X-ray vision. You can see me fixing it there on the straw. And there you have it, 2 simple subjects that are overlapped. Give it a shot. For our next challenge, let's try with 3 subjects. Draw a car. Can be simple, cartoony. Nice small little house. Make sure that the house is behind the car. And then draw a tree and make sure that the tree is behind both the car and the house. If you have any X-ray vision areas, go back and erase and fix them until it looks like that. Give it a go. Alright, now let's get a little trickier. One of the most common types of overlaps is a hand gripping an object. So start by drawing a bottle, and then draw 4 ovals to represent the 4 fingers, and then your thumb and your wrist. Go back in and erase the X-ray vision on the fingers. Redraw the fingers as needed. Erase the X-ray vision on the thumb. Don't forget to add fingernails and lines for the knuckles. And voila, a hand overlapping a water bottle. Give it a go. Now let's use a little bit of what we did yesterday and put a character in this one. But first, draw a window with dungeon bars coming down. Then behind the bars, see if you can draw a face. See how interesting and complex you can make the face even though it's behind the bars. Give it some nice big eyes, an interesting shape for the nose, shape for the mouth. Remember, no more dots and lines. And then get some details in there. Some sharp teeth, make him look scary, like there's a reason he's trapped in that dungeon. Some stringy hair, all behind the bars of that window. Give it a go. For our last challenge, I want to show you how overlaps can be used to make a landscape. For example, you could overlap buildings to make it look like the buildings are going back into the distance. Just draw rectangle shapes that overlap, and then instant city. Put some window details on them. Behind the city, overlap some pointy triangles. This will look like a mountain range is in the distance behind the city. Put some little snow-capped mountain details on those mountains. And then in the sky, we're going to do the same thing, but with clouds. We're going to start with big clouds and overlap them as they go down and get smaller. This will give your clouds a realistic sense of space. Remember to overlap them and make them smaller and smaller as they go down towards the mountain, and eventually overlap with the tips of the mountains. And voila, you will have used overlapping to create a nice 3D scene.